I'm going to call our Finance Committee meeting to order. It is at 7:15, and we have the following Finance Committee members here. We have Rhea is here, Ashley, Ross, myself is the chair. We have Amanda, and we also have Bob and Monroe, and so those are the members present. We also do not have a clerk tonight, so when you speak, please identify yourself, because the clerk will be working from the recording, both audio and video. So if you do speak, please identify yourselves. And we do have one member of the public here, and we also have Rodney Fournier, First Selectman, is present. And that is it. We do not have the town administrator here. The chief financial officer is not present, and we also do not have representation, as I said, from the schools. But we did get notified that superintendent of schools cannot make it. So we can get started. So I will begin with our public participation, and if our member of the public would like to come up, identify yourself by name and street, and if you want to talk.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so.
Just come on up so the microphone will pick you up, or you can
have a seat.
Yeah. Have a seat.
Very important.
You can come up here and stay there. Stay there and look at our material, because this is all stuff for the public, so you're welcome to just stay there.
Very honored to be at the high table, thank you. Bryce Aronson, 149 Brandy Street. So my primary leading comment is on the way things are communicated with the public on like the town meetings, the budget documentations, how they are shared. I mean, less so I think for the updated budget documentation. I feel like that was reasonably well circulated, but the annual meeting that was held before this, that, knowing when that is, what the agenda is, or what's going to be discussed, I would just like to note that, an attempt at improving, I don't have the answers for it right now.
No, but what you had noted before, and what we had spoken to when you asked about how do you place notifications, and the answer from the town officials here was that we do basically the legally mandated minimum, when you ask. And so you were saying is, what can we do beyond that?
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify, because that was really your concern. And that's also one of my concerns as well, too, is sometimes we just do the minimum legally required, and how many people look at those sources. So anyway, continue.
I don't have much more to say, but yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and that, at least from what I understand from the Finance Committee, to give you some kudos, is that it at least seems to be acknowledged. And I don't know if that seems to be better than what the entire select people have acknowledged. So, an acknowledgement and an intention on how to do a better job is appreciated.
Yep. And we appreciate you being here and participating as a member of the public, because sometimes it's a joke, when we have the public participation, that who's the public? They're not here. And I've had that happen on the other committees, commissions like inland wetlands, that nobody usually shows except the applicant. So again, thank you very much for being here.
That's it. Don't feel like you have to stay the whole time.
Yeah, if you want to stay, you're welcome to.
Thank you. I'll go sit over there.
Safer.
You're not on the big screen.
So that was the end of public participation. So we will go on to approval of minutes, and we have 3 sets of minutes, to approve, and I will ask that we approve each set of minutes separately, just to keep it cleaner and easier, especially since we do not have our clerk tonight, and she will be working from the recordings, which is more difficult. So first thing is the minutes of April 22nd, 2024 special meeting.
The 22nd?
Yeah,
I'll move that we approve the minutes from April 22nd.
second. So I have a motion by, you made the motion, Amanda?
Mm-hmm.
By Amanda Gordon, seconded by Bob Monroe. Is there any discussion? And I'm looking around. Yes, Amanda?
So I'm not sure that Bob Mora was at that meeting, because that was the meeting where it was just the four of us, and it says that he came at 7:37, but I don't think that's accurate. Yeah, 'cause it was
He
Passover.
wasn't here.
Yeah, he was not here because he was at a Passover Seder with
Right,
friends.
so I think he just needs to be removed from the members present.
You have a great memory, yes.
Yeah.
Good point, good catch. So then I would ask that we amend the motion to include that correction to eliminate Bob Moore as attending.
Motion to approve with modification.
And as that motion is made by Bob Monroe, do I have a second?
A second?
Second is made by Ashley Phelan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions. So the motion carries unanimously by the members of the Finance Committee present. What?
Well, so.
We just found something in the things we just approved?
Yeah, I'm picky in how this stuff is worded, only because, so
No, that's fine, I'm just
Which one
saying.
are you at?
3A,
3A?
where it says, A. Gordon reported the mill rate currently is 32.63. I mean, I would like that to say that she calculated that the mill rate, like, because I stated in that meeting that I wasn't sure if it was correct. I just don't want that to be taken as like
So where is this?
fact,
Or
page
you
one.
more like estimated?
Yeah.
April 22nd.
So then, let's go and have a motion to go back and revisit 3A.
I'll make a motion that we go back and revisit 3A of the April 22nd minutes.
I'll second
And
that.
so the motion was made by Amanda, seconded by Rhea. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Well, just that I would like, under 3A, if we
discussion.
can say, yeah, if it can say, A. Gordon reported that her estimated mill rate currently is 32.63.
And that's in the middle of the
3C,
paragraph.
The second one down is also worded.
Where?
A. Gordon reported the motion change to the mill rate closer to last year's. The mill rate from 32.63 to 33.41, which is a decrease of 23.76. And that's not how math works.
Where's that? Sorry.
No, the second page
Yep.
is 3C.
Okay,
Then
yep,
the second-
okay, yep, the second one.
Second one down.
Okay, so, and also to make a change to 3C, the second bullet point, that the estimated mill rate, changed the estimated mill rate closer to last year's, to 33.41.
In direction, yeah.
So what should it say?
Well,
The-
It
what-
is, it's directionally correct because it's a decrease from last year's mill rate. And then maybe we can add mill rate last year of 43.82 or 10.41 mils, because that's what it was a decrease from last year's mill rate. Not that we were decreasing it.
So then we
And
should
that.
repeat.
And the percentage, the way the percentage change was really what I was calling on that too.
So,
That's.
it sounds like that whole sentence needs to be corrected in order to make it reflect accurate
Oh,
math.
change to the mill rate.
Yeah, so the 32.63 and the 33.41, neither of those are prior year
No,
mill rates. So it's
32
just
was the
saying
original estimate,
The
right.
estimate changed.
Yeah, so A. Gordon reported that the motion changed the estimated mill rate from 32.63 to
Yeah.
33.41, which is a decrease of 23.76% from the prior year's mill rate of 43.82, or a 10.41 decrease in mills.
That's fine.
Yes. You can be on the
Thank you.
committee.
Thank you, yes.
That's right, there's lots of details.
Should that be typed out or something so that whoever's
It's
taking
recorded.
it?
It's
It's
recorded,
being
they'll,
recorded.
Okay.
They'll
Just
type
say it one more time so that the person,
I don't know
They can
that,
replay it.
yeah, they can replay it over and over again if they need to. It should be all right, if they need to, they can ask
okay.
next meeting. That's why I said it kind of slowly.
So any
right, sorry.
further discussion?
So we start again, motion to approve with modification.
Yes. Do I have a
We already
second?
had
Well, we made a motion and then we're in.
that. That was part of the discussion, yep. So now we just have to approve it.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
No, never mind, we just need to approve. Because the motion was to go back and revisit this, which we just did, and that's the changes that we want, and there's no further discussion on the changes that we decided to make. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the motion passes unanimously by all those present. So we go on to the minutes for April 30th, our public hearing.
Do you like, in the first paragraph where we're referring to Jim, when we talk about the carryover from the prior, Ross replied it was a one-time occasion? I don't know if it's really one time.
Well, that specific, well, depending on how you look at this, components that were that one time, that one time that was caused by the one time,
Interest?
well, not the, well, there's some that was one time from the interest. And then there was also that we had that money after they audited the the budget for the previous year, there was that surplus of what,
Put that
1.2
there
million.
again.
And I think that's what I was calling out as kind of, as
Yeah.
being the windfall.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is just business as usual, except for the fact that the interest rates did go up. And so that may not happen again next year.
Because then I like where it starts with Amanda just explaining the sources.
He did, I mean, the minutes are accurate in the sense that he did say that.
Yeah.
So I do have some changes I want to make. Because I'm picky. But should we make a motion to approve first? I make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 30th with the changes that I would like to make, which will be discussed.
I'll second that.
Okay, so
Still motion is made by Amanda and seconded by Rhea. Discussion.
So the last paragraph on page 1 where it says Scott Michaud asked about the increase in the mill rate and the subsequent increase in taxes. And it says A. Gordon replied that there was a 9.5% increase last year. I would like to specify that I said there was a 9.5 increase in mill rate. In the mill rate last year, so that it's not confused that it was a 9.5 necessarily increase in taxes.
Or the budget.
Right, or the budget, correct. So just adding the words mill rate there. And then, wow,
Well, just basically drop it off after the comma and then add, there's a 9.5% increase in mill rate last year, period, and then drop the rest, correct? Or-
no, it was a 9.5% increase in mill rate.
Yes.
And a 3.8 mills increase. So so mill rate increase. So it's the difference between number of mills versus percentage
Okay,
increase. And then on page 2, I believe that so first paragraph, third from the last sentence, A, Gordon explained that the town has locked contracts with vendors and therefore cannot predict costs. I'm pretty sure I said that we can predict costs because of those locked-in vendors. We know the max increase, so just changing cannot to can predict costs.
Or better predict, or?
I don't exactly remember what I said. Should be able to predict costs. Any other changes?
I'm looking at the very last paragraph again by Cheryl Uden, or Udan.
Oh, that's, her name's spelled wrong, it should be Udin, Cheryl Udin.
So last paragraph, Cheryl Udin, 31 Keeney Drive. And where we get into the discussion about the schools. Added the, Ashley pointed out that the increase is due to contractual salaries and benefits. Kay Heck added the schools trying to hire for unfilled positions. And then, as I stated, that this will need to be discussed soon. This that I wanted to have discussed is really what's the, the future school situation.
Bigger picture, yeah.
The big picture of the future school system in Bolton is what, I refer to. Because otherwise this isn't really clear.
I agree.
So you wanna change this to what? The
So
future
just
school?
R. Lally stated that the future of the school system in Bolton will need to be discussed soon. And then Bob and Rowe explained the reason for students are enrolling in vocational and other schools. So this is all, the last part is all the explanation of the decline of enrollment.
The last sentence, when Bob also added that students are allowed to attend other facilities,
Yeah, I
was he
looking at that,
referring,
so.
was he
Yeah.
referring to vocational and that type of stuff, charter schools, or was it getting at his comment where he thinks that kids should be able to,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's the context of his comment,
yeah,
was that,
that was.
there should be more choice. That
Yeah,
was, I
some
believe,
choice, some
bottom
sort of,
line.
whether it's a
That was-
voucher system or whatever, he wanted more choice where money could follow the student to
Yes.
the appropriate school, I think is probably the best way
Yeah.
to say it.
Do we
Follow-
need that though?
Yeah, I would strike
don't
that from
think it
that whole
follows-
sentence from,
It's off topic,
yeah,
don't you think?
because it was related to state policy.
Yeah,
I would strike the whole sentence,
Yeah.
starting with R. Nora, the last sentence.
so let's delete the last sentence, R. Moral also added.
It's not possible in this time, yeah.
And I think it also clarifies the discussion that was before that.
Yeah,
I mean, he did say it, but like you said, it's not pertinent to the particular
Right, yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
It doesn't hurt anything to remove it.
yeah. Okay.
Any other further discussion?
Am I allowed to ask a question on that right now?
Well, technically,
Oh,
no,
then I'm happy to be quiet.
but
Go ahead.
Yeah.
go ahead
Yeah,
anyway,
welcome
since
to
you
come
already
to the
did. Mrs. Tick,
Public participation?
just don't get out of line, so I have to call the state police and throw you out.
I'd be gone before they got me. So I had never heard the number for, I guess, the students participating in our school system. And if the budget is 16 whatever million, it's like almost $24,000 a student.
Yeah, I think Kristen Heck said like 20,000 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep,
And some of them are fixed costs, right, that like are gonna remain regardless of how many students we have, like, we could take on more at the same rate before requiring extra teachers
and
and
that's
stuff.
what I was trying to get at with
Right.
my comment is,
Right.
the cost to heat the school, the cost, all those fixed things are gonna stay, that the administration, all those, costs are gonna be
Yeah,
Right, the general overhead.
if you have additional classes, by exponential
enrollment's in the budget document.
increased number of
Yeah.
kids, then sure, you would need more teachers and then it would increase, but a lot of that is fixed.
And so what will just make clear to our clerk who is not here is that we're having a discussion that's unrelated to changes to the minutes. And so the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
change that we asked for was dropping that last sentence, "are Mora." So why don't we finish up this motion, and then if there's any questions you want, I'm just trying to keep it clear for.
I apologize.
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to keep it clear for the clerk who is not here and going to be working from recordings. So, any further discussion about the minutes? So then, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So the minutes of the April 30 public hearing were approved with the noted modifications. They were approved unanimously by all those present. So do you want to have your question answered now before we move on to the next
No,
step?
because I mean, it was
It's an
answered.
observation.
It was an
Yeah, it's an
observation? Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're getting at with your broader comment about needing to have a bigger discussion at some point about the schools is because.
Because it's
if you have-
nothing we can solve as a finance committee. It's
Right.
really a townwide decision, that you have to have a number of public gatherings to have people sit down and talk about how do you envision the future of the schools? What are you willing to pay for? How do you pay for it if you want to keep it the way it is, like getting more businesses in and so forth? So it's a much broader discussion than what we can do here. This is pretty much said and done by the time things get here. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Monroe.
So I just make again clear to the clerk that we haven't moved on to the April 30th special meeting minutes yet. So ignore this conversation as far as recording it. Yes, Bob, or are you on to some specific minutes comment?
I was gonna say that it doesn't matter whether it's, but what matters is the spread of the students by grade across the school system.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing right now is a continued decline in the number of high school students, as reflected by the population. The key, and I don't really have an answer for this yet, because I haven't really done that much analysis of it, but is how many kids in kindergarten and first grade compared to previous years.
Yeah.
There's been, this is, for the most part, has been a town made up of older adults, many of whose children are long since gone from Bolton. And, houses were being sold as evidenced by the grand list change. What we're seeing, I believe, is, those homes are being bought by younger families and new families and people who want to come to Bolton from the school system and raise their kids, have their kids raised and educated here.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is that we just move on to the next one, because I think it's a good discussion. And then maybe we can just have a private,
Yeah.
private answer, a Q&A for you, because I just want to move this along.
One other,
Kindergarten class is 33,
Yeah,
yeah, one other thing to add, just as a,
33. Kindergarten, just next year.
Yeah. Compared to,
The per grade enrollment is part of the budget document that is available on the town's website for anyone who would like to see that.
yeah, okay, let's move on. So I'm going to move on, so now I can tell our clerk when she's listening to, now you can pay attention again, because we are now doing official agenda business. So this is the approval of the minutes of April 30th, 2024 special meeting. So do I have a motion to approve, and then we can discuss?
motion approved.
Seconded by Amanda.
And motion made by Bob Monroe. Okay, discussion. Because this was really crunch time.
yes, correct.
To try to get this thing done, so hopefully these are understandable. Because there was a lot of conversation. And I just would note on the first paragraph, since we had already had the public, oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong one.
I was gonna
Hold
say,
on. Never
what's in your
mind.
hand doesn't look like one.
No, it's not. Let me go to no wonder. Anyway, let's go on to the next, the correct one. So, anyway. So I think I would just amend on the second page, 4B, we're talking about the budget calendar. As this says, again, it's Ross Lally speaking, R. Lally announced that the FY 2024 and 25 budget, it should be budget numbers must be filed with, with the town clerk by May 20. So it basically, we don't, and with the intent that we do not have much time left to work on, the budget for presentation to the public.
It says
So-
May 10.
Because by itself, the observation is like, why did I make that observation? It's really because we need to get it done tonight, was basically the intent of that paragraph.
Are you talking about 4B?
Yes, 4B.
Did you say May 20th?
No, I said May 10th, I believe. They must, instead of shall be filed with the town clerk, it must be filed with the town clerk by May 10. And the reason, meaning that we must, basically have a little time left to act on, the budget for the next fiscal year. So that's what I would add at the end.
I would further amend 4B to read, announce that the FY 24 dash FY 25 budget, it's not both year budgets, like FY 24 is already
Yeah,
done,
that's
so it should be FY 24 dash 25 budget.
Shall be filed, must be filed with the town clerk by May 10, 2024. Meaning we do not have much time left to make a decision on the budget. And then that should take care of that. And then on 4C, consider and possibly act on assignment of a capital reserve project. It should read that our Lally stated the reason for this action is that we must put the $400,000 into a specific line item in the capital plan. We had not done this at the last meeting.
So can we just eliminate the words without placing it, and then it becomes accurate, is to place $400,000 in capital in a line item.
Yes, that would do it.
So strike without placing it.
And so for our poor clerk was trying to figure this out, it will now read, our Lally stated the reason for this action is to place $400,000 in capital in a line item. And so I'm just also going to note under 5A, we also had some discussion about the fact that the SOAR Commission was not officially covered by the RFQ, and yet we received a submission for it. And I questioned whether, did we need to set that aside until we issued an RFQ and received this formally? And then Jim Rupert had replied that it was under a certain amount dollar threshold, so we didn't have to do that. So I don't know if we feel that's important to cover, because it's not, I don't see it in here, but it was part of the discussion. So what do you folks think?
It could be a good technical item to have in there.
Yeah.
So then it's basically note that, I'm just trying to think of the most efficient way to say this, was that although the SOAR Commission,
What do you mean by the SOAR Commission, the Bolton Lakes?
the Bolton Lakes and Sewers, whatever,
Oh,
because that's what it really
Sewer
calls,
got it.
sewer district, whatever. Because they have a separate financial structure that gets audited.
committee discussed that Bolton Lakes sewer was not included in RFQ. Jim confirmed it was not necessary according to our bid ordinances.
Because it was under threshold.
Because, yeah, this is under the,
Threshold for bid ordinances. Okay, that sounds good. We will go with Amanda's suggestion. And then I think the rest of it covers the ask that we had for the auditor making themselves available to us more and sooner. And then we had the motion, and that's for the ballot question. And that was carried unanimously by those present, no abstentions and so forth. So it looks like the rest of it's okay unless anybody has noted anything. So any further discussion? Then we will have a vote to incorporate those comments. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously by those present. So we can move on to the elected official and town staff reports. And since we do not have anybody who typically presents, Jim Rupert is not present.
We can probably give a couple highlights for Board of Ed, if you'd like.
So if you would like, so let's just look at this, We do start with Board of Ed. Ashley and Rhea, if you would like to give some updates for Board of Ed then?
Yeah, very high level, so 71% expended as of April 30th versus 73% in the prior year. As you'd expect, continue to experience savings in salaries and benefits due to those unfilled positions. I think there has been some success with filling maybe one to two positions, which is great. But still projecting some savings in that area by the end of the year. The commitment, and I forget where we were last meeting, but the commitment to FY 25's budget is $350,000, which I think is what we have in the placeholder.
Correct.
And then there were a few bid waivers that we, talked about at the meeting and had to address, but I don't think we have to approve those as part of the Board of Finance.
So did this is Bob Monroe, did the Board of Education approve the statement for April?
Yes.
But it's not in our packet.
We got it online.
Oh, yeah.
She just sent it before the meeting.
Oh, I looked at it earlier and I didn't see it.
I
Okay.
didn't see it online. You sure?
We got an email at 3:22
Okay.
PM today
Okay.
from Casal.
Oh, I thought it was just to me. I didn't know it was to them. Okay.
Night pen.
Sorry.
I know this one is mine because I got that from the vendor at the,
Was there any change in the projected surplus?
So still holding at,
I think they're at 66 or something.
Projected budget balance, 526,292, increase from prior month projection of a decrease in 92,667.
so that was as of the prior meeting, then.
April. These are the April.
So
I'm looking at the bottom line.
you just said a decrease?
Well, it's in red in parentheses, so normally that means a decrease.
yeah,
I don't have last month's.
Oh, it was that what Crystal sent?
What do you have last month's or? I don't know, this one just says April on the top.
Okay.
This was, today. I have
And then I'm looking at the total education budget line item on the last page.
but I can't download it.
Let me see if I can open it. Hold on.
I'll have to look at it when I get home.
And I can try
So
and,
after the 350,000 commitment, there could be additional savings. We have not yet approved that to be committed to next year.
correct.
because that's where Kristen
I was
had left
suggesting
us
last meeting that it was
previously.
gonna be at least $100,000.
Okay.
Right, so they are saying the surplus above and beyond that which has already been committed to next year's budget is 176,292.
Yeah. So higher than
Yeah.
you're anticipating.
It's a good estimate, Bob. Not bad for government work.
I venture into things that people just don't wanna venture into.
But obviously, every month that goes by without filling those positions is quite exponential because we continue to carry that forward. So
Yeah,
There's more to it than that.
absolutely.
any more discussion on Board of Education update? Anything we'd like Ashley to take back to the Board of Ed? What? I'm not seeing any, so we can go on to the Board of Selectmen part of the budget.
I don't have anything
Yeah.
from the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Just the same old concerns about our refuse budget line item, which is highlighted in blue on your
Yep.
chart. Revenues, there were no concerns on revenue.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one was, the other one we had talked about was also for elections. And again, that's because of early voting, which wasn't covered in the, the current budget. So I think those were the two watch items that we had. I don't see that the elections is, highlighted, but that's
No.
another place to keep an eye on. And the transfers, any questions? there were two large transfers. There's one for upfront for $13,000 where we say, looks like we had some savings on sand and salt. There's moved over to equipment highway to replace a plow. And then the last, that one seems to be fairly obvious and a prudent thing to do. And the last one was $14,000 moved to professional and technical services from legal and administrative, and I can't figure that one out without insight. I don't know if Rodney or Amanda would have any insight into that last one.
Not without looking at my notes from
The
the last.
professional technical?
Yeah. It was like $14,000 transfer.
Oh, I think
I
that was to cover more the cost of our
Internal?
cyber stuff.
And cybersecurity.
Yes,
It was to our vendor for Novus, I think.
Novus.
contracts per se.
Yeah.
And then under town update, again, I would ask Amanda or Rodney to speak up as we go through this, but I think the things of interest that I saw was our interest report.
Yeah.
Where we're
It's kind of in line.
looks like we will get to that 500,000 by the end of the fiscal year.
Barely, but we should get there.
Nice.
If it keeps, the amount of interest keeps declining because of our declining balance, it looks like that
Right.
we'll get there to the 500,000.
And so for the public, again, 15,000 was budgeted for total interest because we switched plans with the bank. We had no idea what was gonna happen as a result of that switch, and so we left the interest at $15,000, which was the same as the prior year. So we are seeing an increase in revenue on interest of an estimation of $485,000 over what was in the budget. Which is part of that surplus that we then are carrying over into next year's budget, giving us some
Big
revenue.
part of the story, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
And it also served to decrease, the amount
Yeah.
of money necessary to support the next budget going forward, because we're still anticipating, I believe, 460,000
Yep.
in this coming year.
Correct.
Interested. So far, that looks like a pretty good number, it's hard, it's all a guess.
And I think the rates will probably carry into a good part of next fiscal year.
It's certainly looking
Depending on
that
what the
way.
feds do, which we have no control over, but I don't see them doing anything soon and
Yeah,
dramatic.
maybe one this year,
Yeah, maybe.
Small one.
and then I don't know about next year, I know there's still
Nobody does, yeah.
a lot of pressures out there on,
So we still have,
Because the-
inflation is higher than people, than we'd like it.
right, and the cost of gasoline in particular, a driving force in that area.
That's gone up.
It's been going down lately, but it takes, several months for that to filter through the system. But that may prove to be, in the second half of the year, that may prove to be a real benefit as far as further cooling of the inflation rate.
Yeah.
So for the next thing in our packet, I had spoken to Jill about this. So previously, Bob, you had requested an outline of how our interest is calculated, so that's the letter you see here. And I also found the original proposal that was provided to the Board of Selectmen. It was in June, and so it's from the June 6, 2023 regular meeting. Packet supplemental number 1. So if you want to see the original proposal, it is online in the Board of Selectmen, June 6, 2023 meeting. But ultimately, we are getting 4% APY on the money that's in our general fund. It's a simple interest model, not compounded. They use the daily balance method to calculate the interest. So it's applied to the principal in the account each day and then posted monthly. So you had asked, multiple people had asked, well, what does our daily balance look like? So she just provided us with the end of month balance for multiple months for fiscal year 22, fiscal year 23, and fiscal year 2024. So that if you chose to do some estimates, moving forward, you'd have an idea of what our bank account looks like. So it varies greatly from year to year. You can see some big changes, at least in July and August of 22 versus 23. The balance was much higher starting fiscal year 23 than it was in 22, and even higher in 24 than it was in 23. I believe in 2024, the reason we're seeing a shift in 2024, and Jill will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe part of that is because she shifted some money around to make the most out of this interest policy. So she tried to get as much money into the general fund as she could. So I think that's part of what contributed to the higher numbers in 2024. And then, obviously.
That's what she had told me as well,
Yeah,
is that that she tries to maintain as
higher
the
balance.
minimum needed in the operating account to cover the town's short-term obligations so that we get the most interest on the remainder.
Right.
Yeah, this,
And so we only make the 4% on a balance of over $5,000. So right now we've got, right?
5,000 or 5 million?
Sorry. Yeah, 5 million. Sorry, add some zeros to that. So right now, we've got just under at the end of March, we had just under 13 million in the account. So we were earning that interest on around $8 million. So and it doesn't look like we've gone below that balance of 5 million only once in the last 3 fiscal years. So that bodes well for us
for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
for the last 2.
Question here from Bob Monroe, an observation regarding, I appreciate the fact that we finally have something from the bank. I would like to have seen a bit more information there.
Thank you.
Especially what drives, in the first of 2 paragraphs. The interest rate is what is currently offered to the town of Bolton and is subject to change based on interest rate conditions. I would have liked to see a bit more
What interest rate conditions?
elaboration there.
It's probably in the detailed contract, is that,
I'm trying
Maybe.
to see.
I don't know.
yeah, that's posted?
That's what I've
But
been
you're right,
asking
it would have
for.
been easier
So
or
I'm seeing
nicer if they spelled it out, yeah.
Where do we see that?
4?
Yeah, because it's easy enough for them to say whatever their financial reference point, is that they use,
LIBOR.
or more than one, or an
Yeah, and what
average.
drives the change?
An average of this, and
It's gotta be a benchmark.
I guess whatever their benchmark is would help us understand what it may look like in the future and make better decisions.
Yeah, example, if it's, if the interest rate that changes by 0.25%, say, as we were just kind of speculating, does that mean there's a corresponding and immediate
Right.
change in the rate that we're getting? Or is it a combination of other factors?
I'm surprised that 4% has been pretty fixed. I would have thought that would have even fluctuated.
She told me that it's been pretty stable.
Yeah, well, it
I'm
has been
surprised.
pretty stable now since July? This past?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
That time was by fast.
There weren't any further,
Yeah, there weren't any-
there weren't
I'm not
any
seeing
further hikes,
Hikes, yeah.
I think after July.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, just to keep in mind when you look at these numbers, because of the way that they calculate the interest on a daily basis, you will see fluctuations that also are based on how long the month is. Because you'll see February's 28 days, you'll have April is 30 days, and then, June is 30. So it's something to keep in mind too, because it's affected a little bit by the length of the month because of their calculations.
All right, hopefully my
I am
point is not lost that.
No.
I am not seeing anything in the documents that were provided to the Board of Selectmen that indicates what the basis of their APY is.
That's interesting.
It's magic.
It's almost like they just say, this is the number.
So the original proposal, there were 2 options on the table, based on different minimum amounts that we'd have in our account. So the first was 3.25 and the second was 3%, and the board pushed back and asked, what's your best offer? And they came back at 4, so I don't know, it doesn't seem like they were basing it off of anything in,
They must have had some internal
right,
analysis
something, but.
Yeah.
that we're not privy to.
And that being the amount that they're actually making.
Yeah.
So is there a specific question?
When did we renegotiate this, or is there a period?
It was at the end of last summer,
You did.
So
and we said, the board said that we would address it once a year, so we will have to try and bring the bank in again and have a conversation, and we can potentially ask some of these questions.
That would be good. So let's put that on there as an
Yeah.
official ask so that if it's sometime soon, probably after we get the budget out of the way for this year, whenever the last referendum is after that, so I'm thinking you probably want to have them in July or August. Or do you want them in sooner?
It's up to Rodney.
Because it would be good to give them some advance warning.
Yeah, I guess it would be. So.
Well, it's May now, mid-May.
Yeah, so it's not that far away if you say July. It's like the month after next, so.
I would say a month before that is renewed. Is it automatically renewed or is it just?
Yeah, there's no end date to this, except that the APY is variable,
Right.
so it can change at any time, so we could
Yeah.
ask them what they're predicting for the future, the coming year, and what is the very specific
they're
question
really-
you have?
One is like the benchmark is what we,
The
Yeah,
last
what-
Benchmark
sentence,
for the
the last
Drives a
sentence.
change.
yeah.
The last what?
The last sentence in their letter to us says the interest rate that is currently offered to the town of Bolton is subject to change based on interest rate conditions.
Yeah.
What are
So,
these?
Yeah.
What are these, and
The inquiring minds don't even, that doesn't even take an inquiring mind, that just takes
Yeah.
common sense, come on now.
and how does that tie into the contract?
Yeah. And it's also is like, when are they applied? Is it applied at the end of each, at the end of each month? We look at an average, what is the benchmark at the end of the month? What is, what benchmark and how do they then apply it? And is it quarterly, monthly, what's the period that they look at for, when they want to make a change?
Got it.
So we need to have them back in again. So whoever on the selectmen can request them to please come in would be a good thing. So you think July, is that what we heard is a consensus, or you want them sooner? But Rodney, you had a comment or just scratching?
It was September that the contract started?
I have no idea.
They changed it in the middle for
There
us.
was a June meeting and then they pushed back, so I think it was probably July or August when it was approved.
So you want to bring them in July?
Yeah, let's do that, because I don't know if it's even a matter of, the contract ended and they renegotiated so much as we put pressure on them and
But
they
it was the
wanted to-
latter.
and they wanted to keep us. I
Yeah,
think
well,
it's
they
more,
came in with a compromise, if you recall, and said that we reconsider our position and we're gonna offer you 1%.
well, yeah, because they bumped it up they bumped it up
What?
just because we wanted to have them in, and then after they came in, they bumped it up just a teeny bit more, and then after you twist their arms, then you get 4%. So, it would be good to have them in.
What's that?
Who was negotiating with the bank?
The Board of
Was
Selectmen.
was it? Okay.
Yeah, we suggested that the Board of Selectmen continue the arm twisting that we started.
It was actually in the meeting minutes when they approved it that they would discuss it once a year. Go back to it.
Yeah, so it's about time.
Yep.
So if you could get them in for like June or July, I guess.
Shall ask.
July or actually, or a regular, it could be as soon as we have a regular meeting anyway in June. And then we're usually out for July and August, so we
Right.
should have them in June.
You call Mr. Cottonhouse.
Yeah. Any further discussion on elected official and town and staff reports so we can keep moving along? Do you have a question, Amanda?
Nope.
We're ready to move along then. So we need to move on to ongoing business, which was to act on the FY 2024 revised revenues. So it looks like at some point, we managed to not actually officially vote on those. I thought we had, approved them, but it doesn't look like it from the records. So let's go and just do this, tonight to make it official. And that's included in our package. And the adopted revenues were 2 million. What the hell, I'm looking at education. Sorry, let me go to the next page. The adopted were 23,413,367, and the ones that we need to approve should be 24,280,105.
I'll make a motion that we approve the revised FY 24 revenue as presented in the amount of 24,280,105.
So a motion made by Amanda, do I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Bob Monroe. Any further discussion? All those,
I
what?
just want to clarify that these are the original numbers we discussed, not including the extra 90,000-ish that's potentially there after Jill's latest revised numbers that we opted not to
Include for the town. And the
Correct.
same thing, this also does not include that extra monies from the Board of Ed either, correct? From the extra that they may have in surplus.
Oh, the 1.7, no,
No.
yeah.
So then there's a potential like about 225,000 that's not accounted for in here. Between the Board of Ed and the Board of Selectmen, no. 200,000.
But that's not revenue for FY 24.
Yeah,
That's
so it goes
revenue
into
for next year,
year. I'm just saying, not included. So, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, approved unanimously by all members of the Finance Committee present. So we have new business discussion of state and federal compliance audit. This is the first time I've seen it tonight.
Yes, I'm
It's a
not-
big-
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
we
I'm
need to
not
put this on the next
prepared to-
agenda.
Big document.
Yep.
So do you want to say we'll table this until the next?
Yep, I'll have to read through this.
So then I'll just do I have a motion to table that discussion until our next meeting, regular
moved.
meeting. Motion moved by Amanda, seconded by, did I have a
Second?
by Ashley. Ashley, I think beat you to it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, passes. Motion to table it till next meeting, regular meeting, passes. So discussion on the next meeting date. We have a regular meeting coming up on June 20th. I think we need to put a special meeting date on for the evening after the referendum next week on Tuesday, so we should have one on Wednesday, which I can take care of by just asking, Liz and Kathy to post it.
That's
And-
not a Board of Ed meeting, is it?
Well, it doesn't matter, we have to.
The 22nd?
The 22nd. Doesn't have to be the day after, it can be.
We typically don't, we haven't been doing it the night before, because I can't be here because
Oh, no,
I'm at the
it's- yeah.
elections. And then you need a certain amount of, the next referendum date is 2 weeks after that, so that would be June 4th, and you have to allow time to get the ballots printed and all that other good stuff. So we really should, if there's unless there's some real reason we can't do it, we should really meet on the 22nd.
Okay.
Special meeting is 7:15 on the 22nd.
Make a motion that we schedule a Finance Committee special meeting on the evening of May 22nd at 7:15 PM at a location to be determined based on availability.
And the purpose of the meeting is to,
Whatever you dictate in your,
it's
with an agenda to be set, but for the purpose of
It's basically-
discussing the results of the referendum
yeah,
and potentially setting the mill rate.
let's potentially set the mill rate or potentially to act on budget reductions.
I accept your amendment to my.
Thank you. Decent of you. Do I have
No, we need a
we
second.
need a second.
I'll second.
So it's motion was made by Amanda, seconded by Rhea. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, carries unanimously by those present. So then, let's go on to this. I sent out to folks just before the meeting, unfortunately, so if you didn't get it, I do have copies of some feedback that I received from two constituents. And I discussed it briefly with them, actually, not briefly, we had a good discussion on it with Amanda. And the feedback was basically people trying to figure out the difference in the numbers that we gave as an average and what they saw when they looked at the grand list. And I think that some of the factors that complicate things this time are, one, we had a reevaluation. And two, the revaluation was not proportional. Residential properties rose more than business properties. In fact, most businesses lost some money, it looks like, decreased in value. And then also that both of these averages are skewed, because if you look at the median for the business increase and the median for the general property, private property increase, real property increase, the medians is higher than the average, which means that there's a few people who drove up the average for the properties, private properties, and it's the same, even more so with the various business properties we have. There were a few that went up substantially there, driving the average increase up higher for everybody. And I don't know what an easy answer for this is, because this isn't a sound bite. It's like you have to explain, like, there's several components that go into it, and who's carrying the bigger, component. And it gets complicated because you can't shaft the businesses to save the homeowners, and you don't want to do vice versa. So I'm just opening it up for discussion, because how do we package this in a way? Because we're accused of being disingenuous and trying to, falsify, and mislead, which is not the case. It's just trying to package something, as simply as possible. So comments.
I can clarify just for the record, where the number on the presentation came from. So that average of 29% was taken from the grand list from this year and the grand list from last year, using the total net value divided by the number of properties, the number of real estate regular properties, which is line 1 on the grand list, to come up with an average net value assessment for that property compared to the average net value assessment of the property that was on the grand list last year. That came out to 29%. That was using numbers without access to the detailed information. Detailed information does show that the median is 40% for residential single-family home properties. So that was more across all the real estate regular properties, and average is obviously different than
The average is
median.
lower than the
Yeah.
median.
Yeah, did we do this last year where we provided this level?
No, because there was no
Reval?
reval. So it's
Yeah.
we used an average to figure out the approximate impact for the average household, because there's no way for us to
Right,
give people that
Yeah,
information.
and we did do that last year, but that was okay
wasn't as
because there was no revaluation, so people's home
Apples to apples.
values were the
Right.
same. It was apples to apples, as you
Unless they
said.
built on their property or something, and which changed their,
There must be a way to create some sort of tool, even in a spreadsheet, where you get bands of homes from this value to this value, and
Well, and that's what we tried to do, but we had to use the average increase in assessment, or you have to use the value to do that estimate.
You either do it and heavily caveat it and say it is really dependent on your facts and circumstances.
Which is what we did.
Or you don't do it at all. I don't think there's really anything in between that you can do.
You know, other than providing, this is the mill rate, here's how much you will pay per $1,000 of your assessed value, figure it out.
Correct.
You know, it's not being rude, it's just like, if you
No,
wanna
no.
know for your own
Or
home,
you
this
could
is how you
say-
have to do it.
if your house has been valued, assessed at this value, and like do some ranges, like a certain, then, if you have a $300,000 home,
But to
Which we
calculate the
did.
change.
Which we
I mean,
did.
there
Versus
is a
the
chart
prior
in the
chart.
presentation that shows if your home is at this value, this is what your increase will be, or decrease,
but
depending on.
people know what they paid last year, right? But they don't know is what they're gonna pay, so then they could calculate that
Right.
easily and know.
So that's what we're encouraging people to do, is
Yeah.
go calculate
Yeah.
your tax burden this year. And the way that you do that is find your assessed value from this year, which is not the net value, it's the assessed value, which is 70% of the valuation of your home. Divide it by 1,000, multiply it by the proposed mill rate, which is 33.43.
And, yep, and what you will find, when I did the math with the examples that are included in the the official towns document for the budget, and
33.41.
I will be paying about $1,200 more for my property because the assessed value went up from 165,000 to about 250. So it makes me happy that, if I want to sell it, and it also makes me glad that I'm not below water. I paid the mortgage off, but at one point it was below the below the, what I owed, on the value. And so it's like, this is a capitalist system that we use, and it's all based on, powers out of the individual homeowner, it's beyond the individual homeowner. So even though my mill rate went down substantially, I'm going to be paying, about 15 to 20% more than, last year. And I think that's what a couple of the people
Right.
were trying, was the, the message that they were trying to get across and make sure. And I think that's also the thrust of the feedback that I received from these, other constituents.
But you've also gained equity in your.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, it's
Right.
like, name your poison. And there's nothing we have control over with this because it's driven by market value.
Yeah, and I was Bob Monroe. I was remarked that it was unfortunate I did not mention to Mr. Bashad, that aside from what I understand anecdotally, there were a couple of major differences identified that resulted in increased valuations. That was homes that have, instead of 2 floors, 1 floor. That seems to be what was selling, based on
And starter
what
homes.
this is all about. And then the other thing was starter homes, things that were in that range that you mentioned would be considered, I'm guessing, I'm not a real estate agent, be considered starter
Well,
home.
mine was specifically that when I talked to the real estate agent, because I live by myself, I wanted something small, and then it was
Yeah.
also, I figured, good, it'll be appreciated, I can sell it to a young family that wants to
Yeah.
start out when I'm done with it.
Yeah. But I think those are the two of the real big factors.
Yeah, and I think the other challenge for people is, it's great that the house value went up, but you can't magically reach into that value unless you do a home equity loan to pay your taxes. And so it's coming out of your earned income, and that's where it hurts people. So I think that's part of the challenge, is that's the way we do tax, we fund things in Connecticut in general, unless you want to have some, municipal taxes.
I mean, but to be clear about the overall budget numbers, right, it's going to impact every household, every business, every person differently. But the overall budget is seeing a decrease from last year's budget to this year's budget in the net amount to be raised by taxation. So it's a decrease in that of 2.73%. So we are requesting less taxation this fiscal year than we were last fiscal year
And it's just-
overall. It just depends where that money's coming from. the auto grand list also went down, right? So valuations of cars went down. The mill rate is staying the same, which means we're getting less money from auto, which means we're getting more money from other real estate and
Well,
properties.
it's a really, it's like, and I think that's the best way to describe it. It's a revenue neutral budget, but where that, by tax, it's tax neutral, I should say, from last year pretty much, or
It's tax
slightly
negative,
less.
we decreased by 2.73%, right? So
Yeah.
it is,
It's a slight decrease, but where it comes from changed over last year because the way the values of homes and businesses and automobiles shifted.
That's what it is.
So that's really the message, and it's like, how do you say that easily?
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that a law, or is that the way,
When you say,
or
how is that, which
regulations?
one?
Why is it that it shifted from businesses and vehicles?
the market. It's all based on the market. So
Oh, like
homes
sales?
are just worth more now, vehicles are worth
So,
less.
So they're worth more than commercial real estate, for example.
Right.
We don't have that much commercial real estate, and it did not appreciate at the same rate that the
Right.
homes did.
Okay.
Yep.
So then the distribution of the revenue shifted because of the revaluation, even though we're asking, for less than last year. To, Amanda's point, it's where is it coming from? So effectively, the businesses are probably paying a little bit less than, they're paying
And or
less than.
vacant properties might be paying less. I
Yeah.
didn't look into all the details, but like, there's
Yeah.
multiple different types of properties, right? And so everybody's valuation
can't
is a bit
explain it.
different. Right.
Easily. I mean, you can
Right.
explain it, but it's like we're having a nice long discussion, and hopefully Bryce is taking this all in and can help explain it to people. But it's not a simple thing. And I still feel I don't like the fact that I am paying more, but I do think that the budget is reasonable, given the circumstances and also our need to, you can't let maintenance slide on things because we pay for that in the long run. Like we did with the old school building, which, we have to tear down now because we deferred maintenance on it. And if maintenance does not get cheaper. And so I really don't see where we have, a lot of fat in this budget. We never do. They're usually fairly lean, and we do the best that we can with them. So we'll have to see what the voters think next week.
Yeah, I think there's two different kind of comments coming out of the shared comments. It's one, disagreement with the budget, fine, and then two, there's the messaging on
Yeah.
which, that I don't think it was disingenuous.
No, and this document that was posted on the assessors, we don't know when it was posted, it's dated December 13th. I'm not sure. I did not see that, have access to it. I did, when we were doing the presentation to pull it together, and we got the details after the town, meeting, so. Information we get is ever evolving, and this is an example
and
of,
I just want to make clear, this
after
is
the
nothing
fact.
that's a fault of Amanda. I don't want to make it sound in any way, shape, or form that, she's thrown under, she's getting thrown under the bus. It's like, because we're all in we're all in this together, we all looked at it, we all agreed, we didn't have all the information at hand, but we needed to put the budget together, based on, the deadlines in the charter, and we did the best we had with the information available. We'll see what the public thinks about it, and then we can regroup with the new information that we have now and whatever feedback we wind up getting from the referendum. I don't know what else you can do.
I think, because I'm not very savvy with all this stuff, so I think that the explanation about the market value of vehicles has gone down, and that's why you're going to be paying less for your vehicles, and commercial real estate didn't rise as much as residential real estate, I think makes it very clear about what happened, right, how that happened. I didn't really assimilate that information till tonight, honestly.
Yeah, and you need to keep in mind too, that the mill rate on vehicles is maxed by state law.
Yes.
So that doesn't change. The valuation of the car might change,
Which is what happened.
right?
Yeah, which is what happened with me, so I'll probably save a couple $100 on each of my cars, because their value went down substantially, so that's nice, but when I go to sell them or trade them in, I'm gonna get less, so again, it's name your poison. Any further discussion, on the proposed
No, I-
budget feedback?
No, I appreciate the feedback though.
No, I do too, and I thank them
Really
for it,
do.
and I said I would get back to them after we had the discussion, because I wanted to make sure whatever I got back to them with was what we had, agreed on and discussed here. And none of it is disingenuous, it's really a complex topic, and how do you best explain it? Because the numbers are accurate, but they're not representative of everybody, which we did caveat. And if not, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Amanda, do I have a second?
I'll
And
say.
third,
We have a second by Rhea, and I will call the meeting adjourned at 8:33 PM.